Hello, everyone. I am so excited about this episode. This is our 13th episode. I'm here with a very special guest. I actually went to school with her. She was in the aesthetics program. I was in the cosmetology program. And then we both sort of branched off completely two different paths. And today we're catching up. I haven't really sat down and spoke with her since 10 years ago. So this is really nice because I feel like there's so much to learn from each other and to just catch up on. And I thought, okay, this is a really exciting podcast and I hope you guys would enjoy it. She's one of the most successful makeup artists in our city. So we're both from Dearborn. And if you're a bride getting married, Areej is always on your top three. Where am I getting your makeup? Her name is always dropped in that list. Every bride knows, okay, am I going to go see Areej? So, she's just built a name for herself. And, I'm really proud of her. And I do want to talk to her today about what that felt like. And, how do the major three topics we thought about is work-life balance, because she's a gym junkie. And I want to know how she fits in the gym because I'm trying to be a gym junkie. And I feel like I've always been trying to be a gym person, but I get overwhelmed. So I want to learn about that. And then we also want to talk about not comparing yourself and stuff like that. And just different things, all the different paths life can take you after school. We both took on completely different paths and we're both successful in our own way. But there's just so much success that you can have in such a variety of different things after aesthetics or cos school. So we want to talk about that, especially if you're still in cos school or aesthetic school. This is going to be a good episode for you to listen to see all the different avenues you could be on. So welcome, Areej.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's truly my pleasure. I mean, knowing that we get to catch up this many years later, and being able to see the success that we were both able to accomplish. And I'm always checking out your work. I'm like, oh my God, she's always been so talented. You've always been such an amazing artist.
Thank you.
And pursuing that in your career and making this what you have made it has been truly amazing.
Oh, thank you. I feel the same way about you. I'm always seeing your brides and stuff, and I'm like, oh, she makes them so beautiful. I mean, all your clients are already really pretty.
Thank you.
But I do look at your posts, and I'm like, okay, she's my fave.
Oh, thank you. That means so much. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean that. So, okay, let's start out with what I'm the most interested in. Okay, so you're getting engaged, right? And I know that's a lot with event planning, just having a relationship, period. I'm married and I feel okay, just being with a man is already eventful enough because not to dog on men because I don't want to be that person, but right. I feel like men can be unpredictable sometimes. So you don't know what the next day is going to hold, right? So that's already enough to be okay, how do I feel going into work? Because there's some days me and my husband, we don't really get along. And so I have to go to work anyway. Yeah. And then some days, I'm so happy and then I will go to work. And so I feel like managing that and then managing all the events that come with that and then fitting in the gym and then also staying on top of Instagram. It's a lot.
It's a lot of work.
So
definitely.
how do you do it? And then I'll go about how I do it.
I actually just got engaged. So, and now everyone's like, okay, what are you going to do with the wedding planning? Did you start yet? Did you do this? Did you do that? And I'm like, okay, you guys, I just got engaged. I just had the party. I just finished with all that planning and trying to do that as well, along with work, along with the gym, along with family. Feels like it's all coming in through together. But one thing that I feel helps me focus on separating all those things is being able to be all right, this is where I'm at right now. Let me just put that thought in the back of my mind and I'll come back to it later and I'll do what I'm doing in the moment. Okay. And I feel like that's what helps me at work specifically. Say that I get in a little, a little argument here and there with my fiance or anything, or anything of that sort, or something with family. I'm okay, I got to separate them because whoever I'm about to run into, whoever I'm about to see at work, I don't want that energy to be felt in the room. So I try my best to separate them and focus and find a certain type of music to listen to get my creativity going in the moment. So that way I'm focused on what I'm doing and having my client feel like, okay, I'm getting an experience as well.
Yeah.
You know, because energy does affect. And I feel like even if the person doesn't say anything, as soon as you walk into the room, you're like, oh my God, like it just hits you. And you're like, okay, like I feel like they're not doing okay. Like something's going on. So I try my best to kind of like cleanse my energy
Like
a
separate.
little bit. Yeah, separate, like not talk about it too much. But if the client starts talking, I'll like throw in a few jokes here and there to kind of like lighten up my mood and their mood at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's
I
how
like that.
kinda
That's good
separate it.
advice though, like to stay present.
Yeah.
You know, that's good. I sometimes think I think we try to stay present,
We
right?
try,
We try to stay present. And I feel like sometimes we need some like little reminders to like, okay, you know, I'm here. But that's good that you put the client first. I feel like that's the biggest reminder. You're like, okay, I'm here. She needs an experience.
Yes.
I'm going to do this for her. But I feel like it also takes a lot of self-love to put, like, let's say you're at the gym, you're not with a client.
Yeah.
It's a lot of self-love to, like, put you first. Like, I'm here. I need to do this for me. So I'm going to put that first, and I'm put that in the back of my mind. And then I know it's easier said than done.
Way easier said than done.
But that's a good, like, mental note to do, you know? Like, okay, this goes in the background. I'm in the foreground right now. It does feel like you're putting yourself first over whatever is, like, you know, whether it's good or bad, you know?
Whatever is happening, I feel like this is what the beauty career kind of doesn't prepare you for, is that you have to be present no matter what. You have people depending on you for their big day, and they have nothing to do with what's going on in your life. You always have to remember that. And of course, like as you're getting into it and you're growing up, like you're like, okay, like there are days where I want to crawl up and stay under my blanket and just not even I don't want to see anyone.
Yeah.
But then you remember that you have a bride, you have the bridesmaids, you have somebody that has like a birthday or a dinner, an engagement. And, you know, like they need you there. That's why they're coming to you. So that's where you have to just crawl up out of bed and put behind you whatever it is that's going on.
And some days it's the hardest thing to do.
It's the hardest. Like,
yes, I've had days where, like, I wished I was, like, in the hospital, so I had a good excuse.
I swear.
Like, there are some days where I was like, call my customers and just tell them I'm dead.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to be there. But then you do it.
And then you do it. And you're like, okay, I'm glad I did it. Although it took so much to get out of bed and do it that day. But knowing that you were able to be there for that person and be dependable.
And show a positive, like on top of all that.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that's one thing you're not prepared for. And you're like, okay, like nobody else can fill my space. No one else can be there. No one else can like show up and be like, all right, I'll do your
it's not
makeup.
like you're like an accountant, and not to dog on accountants, but like, of course I would not go to anyone but my accountant too. But it's not like we have this like linear job. It's like Areej's makeup looks like Areej's makeup. Like my nano brows look like my nano brows. Like there is no other option. There's only one you. There's only one your artist. Like there are so many brow artists and makeup artists, but the reason there are so many is because like nobody can replicate the other person's work.
Exactly. Each one of them has their clientele, the people that love their work, their specific work. So, and they're used to that, or they're looking forward to that, you know?
Yeah.
So taking that away from people when they're looking forward to it is a big deal. So that's where you have to separate.
Yeah, 100%.
You know?
Okay. And then, you know, I think one thing that follows up with this is like, I was saying before we started this podcast is like, we both went to cos school, aesthetic school, because we're both super girly girls. Like, I remember we were both so into makeup. We always showed up with our hair done. We were both really creative. And I was 16, and I think you were about like 18 maybe, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I was still 16 because I couldn't take my test, and that's how I remember.
Yeah.
And I think you were like, had graduated high school, right? So we were together, and we were both so young. We got along, and just looking at, like, fast forward now, we're both in our 30s. It's like, I thought that I was taking on a career of butterflies. We thought we were going to be Barbies and, like,
pink stuff, like pink lipstick.
Yes.
Like pink, you know, like
we just thought we're so cute.
Yeah.
You know, and we were so cute, but it's like, this path is kind of, you gotta be like tough. Like, I feel like you gotta put your mustache on and your man pants on, and you gotta like stand up. And I feel like going into this, I never felt that way. Like I never was prepared for that. I didn't sign up to be like a entrepreneur, hustler, businesswoman that's got to catch up with the world on the hamster wheel of making $1 million by, I did not catch up for that. Like I liked making money, and I've always been interested in finance. I did go to like college for what's it called? Just general business. I dropped out, but I did go. Like that was an interest that I had, but I never wanted to put my big girl pants on. No. I never wanted to. I kind of wanted to just, I don't know, like just. Like I kind of sometimes imagine myself like as a yoga mom. The yoga moms?
Like a chill yoga mom.
That just does makeup on the side. Yeah. That's how it started.
I could see you doing that.
But then this industry turns you into this like tough person.
It does. And the thing is, you're not prepared for it when you first get into it because we were young. We're like, okay, like this is so cool. Like I'm actually doing what I love,
Yeah.
And what's so funny is you said you dropped out of the business.
Yeah.
I went to school too. I went to Wayne State and I'm like, okay, I was going to do pre-med and I'm like, I'll do this as a side hustle. And I'm like, okay, this is becoming a career. Like I didn't even want to continue school at the time because I felt like, okay, like I'm doing good with the makeup stuff. And this is the girly stuff. And you enjoyed it. You enjoy it. But then you go through so many things in the process and then bam, like you're 30 and you're like, whoa, where did the time go? And you think about all the things you learned along the way that have like taught you to hold on to your skill a little bit tighter and then to not make the same mistakes over again. And you're thankful for the people that came along the way that did give you a tough time to help you grow. Like they actually helped with your personality. They helped with teaching you that, hey, like you got to be responsible. This is serious.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Nobody prepares you. Nobody tells you, hey, you better put on your mustache. You're going to be getting up these days, or like the weekends. Like nobody told me that, oh, your weekends.
You'll never have a Saturday.
You'll never have a Saturday. You'll barely have a Sunday. And if you do have a Sunday, which I've had a few Sundays off, I didn't know what to do with myself. I'm like, okay, what do people do? You go to brunch and then there's nothing else. Like you just sit and do nothing.
Yeah, and then you become this workaholic that rather be at work.
Yes. Oh my God.
And I'm not in that trap anymore. I will admit that 2023 and 2022, I worked on myself so much that I've come to a place where I know how to delegate and I know how to take time off and I know how to like not have a super compact schedule and know what to do with myself. Yeah. But that was such a problem where it was like, okay, you start itching. You're like addicted to work. So you're like, I need my fix. You're like, okay, I got to get out of here. What am I going to do? Cook for my husband? What am I going to do? I got to get out of here. So it's like, it's good to know that you felt that way. You're like, what do I do with myself on a day off?
Yeah, you don't know because you're so used to always be on the go. You're always running around. You're always trying to make it at a certain time to work. You're trying to be like on time for all your clients and you're thinking about 20 million things. You have like 50 million tabs open in the back of your head and you're like, okay, like I got to finish this. I got to do that. And I'm invited to an event. I have a wedding. I have that.
Oh yeah. I seen that. Like you're such a good person on top of being a makeup artist. And I know that. And I know that because a lot of your clients end up inviting you to the event. Yeah. Not a lot of artists end up going to the events. I see you. You'll be like doing their makeup. And I know, like, I can tell, like, you know them, but you don't. And you'll be at their thing later on.
I try my best. I try my best to be there for my clients. And the ones that I didn't come to your wedding, I'm sorry. But thank you for making me part of that day. But yeah, it's tough.
And and you want to be there emotionally. And like, dude, I remember when I started doing makeup, because I did makeup a long time ago. I was kind of like in the makeup scene. And it was kind of tough because as you're doing their makeup on their like emotional day, you have to be their therapist sometimes.
Oh my God, absolutely. You're a part-time therapist all the time. Like, and, it feels good because some people, like want to be heard and want to be talked to.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're like, all right, like it feels good that I'm the comfort. Like I'm what people feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
And you spend a long time as well with your clients.
I do.
With the nano brows, right?
I do. I stopped talking as much as I used to. Yeah. When I was younger, I used to talk way more to people. I think now, not to sound like a hag or like that I'm burnt out, but I definitely, it takes so much energy to also talk and work that I sometimes, like, let's say I'm booked for the full day. If I can just like count my words with each client, I tend to feel like I have enough energy by the end of the day, where like if I gave all of my words to the first client, the second client gets a sleepier me, and then like the third client, like I'm barely alive. Fourth client, I'm like a zombie. And then I go home and I sit on my couch and I stare at the wall.
And you say nothing.
And you just scroll through TikTok. And sometimes you don't. I literally sometimes just stare at the wall after days like that. And you just end up going to sleep and you wake up with a day needing to like recover.
That's so true.
And I'm like, if I just shut the front door, if I just shut my mouth that day, I could have just had a little bit more energy where I felt like I didn't need to like recover from that.
I agree with that.
You know, and I just not like I'm getting paid to be a therapist. And I'm not a good therapist. I give the worst advice.
See, I try my best. I like the point that you made that you try to not, you know, you count your words or you try to save your energy. And I really need to start doing that myself because I'm still in that where I enjoy talking to people.
I do too.
Yeah, and like you enjoy talking to them. You like hearing stories.
Yeah.
But then there are days where you're like, okay, like, not that I try my best not to give advice because I suck at giving advice.
Really?
I do. I mean, I feel like I don't. No, actually, I give good advice. I just don't take my own advice.
No one does.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part. But I try my best not to give advice. I try to just listen.
Because sometimes if I give compassionate advice, I get attached to their story.
Yes. You feel like whatever it is whatever their story is, it's a part of being empathetic. You're like, okay, like wow, I really felt that, and then you carry it on. You carry it on for the rest of the day.
Like literally, Jenna was working on a client yesterday, and it was such an emotional story why they were getting their tattoos, and I'm like, no, you're not paying for that, like. And then at the end, and then it wasn't like a job, and then it came out of like my pocket because I was like, no, he's not paying for that. Like, there's no way. That's the least we could do. And obviously, I don't regret that. But at the same time, it's like, you can't run a company like that because I would do that every day if I could.
Yes, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it does take a lot of like energy to listen, and then sometimes we end up oversharing.
Yes.
I've fell in that trap a few times where like the client was talking and they were getting personal, and it's absolutely in their absolute right to be personal if they want to with us.
Absolutely.
But I feel like, oh, okay, they're my friend. I can start reciprocating that. And then you go home and you're like, why the fuck did I tell her that?
You're like, they did not need to know that.
No.
That's so true. No,
you know?
I agree with that. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you're like, and then sometimes I've even fell in the trap of like texting them a month later, like, hey, did that work out for you? Yeah. And it wasn't a trap or anything. I genuinely care. But then you end up like breaking that. Have you ever made friends with a client?
Yes, I have.
And then have you ever made friends? Okay, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I've made friends with people that were my clients. So they exited the client phase and they entered the friend phase. And then they were no longer a client because then I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to charge you anymore. And then it ruined my friendship. And I've only done that once or twice where I like messed up the two relationships because I kept going back and forth with, are you my client or are you my friend?
Yeah.
And then you end up like, oh, I wish I never done that.
That's the thing. It's so difficult trying to separate that and trying to be like, okay, like I love this person's personality. I love their energy. I love being around them. And I could see them as my friend.
Yeah.
And then to kind of like hold yourself back from being their friend and like taking this further is very difficult.
Yeah.
But I feel like, I don't know, like it's risky because you could lose a potential client and they could start feeling like sensitive to certain things. Like, oh, if I go to this person, she might not want to be my friend.
Yes.
You know, you start running into that. But I've made that mistake before in the beginning when I first started.
Yeah.
And then I learned from it. I mean, I can call some of my clients friends because
Same.
Yeah, right? Like the clients
I have some friends that are my clients. It worked out with a few.
It worked out and you feel cool with them.
Yeah.
Like they're very chill. They're laid back. They don't get into the whole, like, you don't start questioning, like, are they my client or are they my friend?
Yeah.
Like they're just where they were, where they started and they're still
It feels
going.
natural.
It feels natural. And I feel like that's built with the loyal clients too. Like you feel more comfort. You feel like if you've created a bond with them. And you're like, okay, like I feel like I could connect with you. Like you're actually pretty cool. I want to hang out with you outside of this.
Yes.
And that's where the true gems are being like
Yeah.
collected. But I could see the problem of running into the whole, okay, like I made friends with you, but now the clientele part is at risk. Like, what do we do here?
I know. It's only happened a few times, to be honest. I think I've made more friends than like question mark.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to ask like if that happened with you too,
It
because
has, definitely.
and sometimes I feel like I like the person more as a client because there's still that shield of personal space.
Absolutely.
And then I feel like there are times where they become more than a client, and then I physically feel that shield like disappearing.
Yeah.
And then we both get a little closer. But when you have a microscope at somebody, sometimes you see the flaws that you didn't see before.
Yes.
So I like to stay, like, I know this sounds like a defense mechanism, which it totally is, of like not getting hurt.
That's another thing to be added to our career. I feel like we create that whole defense mechanism. Like, okay, like I gotta step back a little bit.
Yes.
Like they observe. Like we tend to observe a lot, especially the older we get, the longer we are in this industry. You do tend to observe and like sit back and be like, okay, like I gotta review that a little bit.
Yeah, like
right?
let me think about that, because you have so much priorities in your day. You're like, does that person deserve a little more of me?
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
I don't think so.
But it also depends on the client themselves and, the way they go about things. Like, I feel like it just flows. Like, it's natural.
Yeah.
There are people that come and sit in your chair and you're like, okay, like, I love their energy. I love the way they make me feel. They love the way I make them feel. Like, it's genuine.
Yeah.
Like, none of you is trying too hard. And you're like,
No.
yeah, I could connect with this person.
Yeah, 100%.
And then there are people that are, they want to keep that barrier. And
yeah.
move forward.
I think that's me. I'm always that person. I'm like, we need the barrier because I like the things not under a microscope, because everything looks so glittery from far away.
It
Like,
does.
you know how they say the grass is always greener?
Yep.
So like
Until you get on
until
that side.
you're on that side. Exactly. So I feel that way with like most things in life, but I think that's just like my personality.
Yeah.
I don't think it's always that way, but I tend to just, like how when you take pictures, some people like closer up pictures, some people like further away pictures.
Yeah.
It's just a perspective. Like I rather see things from far away, which I think that helps me with keeping a distance between and like separating work and space. Like, how you talked about putting some things in the back of your mind and some things in the front. Like it just physically helps me because I do have so much going on. Mm-hmm. So I think that's just one thing. That's cool. I think this is why I like having podcasts, because you can talk about something and then you can see how the other person's processing the same situation.
Exactly. Like I got to learn a few pointers from you. So
Really?
I like this. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I learned a few pointers from you already so far. Like I like that whole foreground, background separation. Like you worded it in a way where I was like, oh shit, I can do that. Like I do have a brain that can do that. Because for me, sometimes I do wear my problems like on my face sometimes. And I think that just goes with being like a earth sign, What are you?
I'm an air sign.
You're an air. Are you a Gemini?
I'm a Gemini.
You are a Gemini.
Yeah. What are you?
Oh, Virgo.
Oh, okay.
What's your birthday?
I'm June 12th.
June 12th. Okay, we have so many Geminis that we know. What's wrong? Oh,
I'm
you're
like,
right.
what? Do you not agree with me being a Gemini or something?
Oh, sorry, I have resting bitch.
It's fine.
What's it called? I think that's probably why we're talking so naturally too, because we're both ruled by Mercury.
Yes. Ugh, unfortunately.
Yes. All of my friends are Geminis.
Are they?
Yes, my mom's a Gemini, Hibba's a Gemini, Kathleen's a Gemini.
Okay.
And then
Are they the Geminis like towards the end of like May or June?
they're
do you
June.
know?
Everyone I know is a June Gemini.
Okay, yeah.
I get along the most with Geminis because they bring that like fun in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an earth sign, so like I'm super analytical, defensive. And I'm not to put myself down or like make myself, but I am a serious person. Like I'm not one to like call somebody at 10 p.m. and be like, hey, let's go out.
Yeah.
You'll never find me doing that. Like I am in bed. My skincare is done.
Which is a good thing. That means I feel like earth signs are so much more grounded.
We're so organized.
Yes. You guys are very organized, very grounded. Like you know how to like stay on that. Where like as an air sign, I'm the complete
But we need
opposite.
each other.
Yes.
Because I will drive my own self crazy with like having a to-do list and like checking it off, and then at the end of the month feeling like a robot, and then like crashing, burning out, doing it all over again, and I'm on that hamster wheel. Like a Gemini knows how to hop off the hamster wheel, go get ice cream, and then get back on.
That's so true. That's literally me. I'll be like, oh my God, like the whole world's on fire, but let me go get my nails done.
Yes.
Or let me go get some ice cream. Yeah, I feel like we do tend to do that a lot.
Yes.
It's good, but it's also not that good. Because like I admire the fact that you're able to have like a to-do list, like a
But you're also
checklist.
on it.
I am, but
It's
not
like,
as much.
I mean, we're both on it. Like, I feel like there's so many different types of productivity. Like, there's the chaotic productivity, there's the checklist productivity, and then there's like the balanced productivity.
Yes,
and I
absolutely.
think we all need to be friends with each other to be able to be like, hey, like my friend Hiba, she'll literally call me and be like, okay, let's not burn yourself out. And like my husband's a Sagittarius, so he's super analytical.
I read my fiance's too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You got yourself a Sag, huh?
I did.
Good
get
for
myself a
you.
Sag, yeah.
I personally love Sag men. Like, they are crazy.
Very.
They are, like, spontaneous. But I can't live without that because I feel like they're the most fun.
They are. And they're when you said spontaneous, they are very spontaneous. Like they're the type that always like to keep the fun going.
Yeah.
Like no matter how bad your energy is or whatever is going
Yeah.
on, they're like, no.
Is he
we
a
still wanna
November
have a-
Sag or, like, a December Sag?
Oh, he's a December Sag.
Oh, so you got, like, a real Sag.
A real Sag,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I got a November Sag. I can't take all that. It's too much.
It is.
December Sags are, like, a little bit, like, they're, like, a super Sag.
They are. They're very. The thing is, I thought I was moody until I met him, and I'm like, oh no. Like he tops that.
But don't you, like, find yourself crazy that you're attracted to a Sagittarius? Like, because
Yes.
I'm like, how the hell do I like this chaos?
Yeah.
And I think it's because without it, I would literally, God should have just made me a clock.
He kind of balances it out for you, right?
Yeah.
Like he's always. I feel like you're very grounded, and he's like, all right, like let's go have fun, let's go on an adventure, like let's go do this.
He'll book all the vacations.
Yeah, that's what I love about Sag. That's one thing. Like
They
that's
travel.
my favorite. Yeah, they love to travel. They love an adventure. They just can't be in the same like routine, same place. Like they kind of itch. And as a Gemini, like I'm the same exact way.
Yeah.
Repetitive, everyday things kind of like get me
Yes.
burnt out. And I'm like, all right, like when I'm like, okay, yeah, you like those
Because,
things.
yeah, you got, like, fire and air, so it's good. And, like, fire and earth is good.
Exactly.
Most of my chart is Leo, though, which is weird. So I'm, like, a Leo everything, and then my sun's a Virgo. So it's, like, I don't know why it is. Like, my moon and rising are both in Leo, and then my, I don't know my husband's chart. But I just know that he completes that super, like, he's analytical, organized, but fun.
Yes.
So I just feel like I need Geminis around, and I feel like you probably need grounded people around.
I do. I definitely love to be around like earth signs a lot the most because they tend to bring me back to like, okay, like you got to be organized. You got to make sure that you write this down. This is how you're going to get to that. Like that's one thing I admire about you.
Thank
and I
you.
could see the Leo now that you said Leo.
Yeah.
Because Leos tend to do that. They do pray like they're really good with being organized as well and prioritizing the important stuff and staying on their game.
Yeah, I feel like you need both. You definitely need both. That's why, like, I really appreciate just having. You need all types of people in your life.
You
for
do.
real.
Oh, for sure.
I think one of the other things we wanted to talk about is like, okay, you know what? There's two things I want to talk about with her. I
let's
think
do
the one thing I want to talk about is I want to know how many days. Okay, like how do you dedicate? Because this is something I personally struggle with, and when I'm interviewing somebody, I ask them the things that I can learn from, and hopefully the audience can relate to my questions.
I like that.
You know, it is what it is. I'm gonna take advantage. I'm doing this for you guys. I got to do some stuff for myself.
This is a learning experience for the both of us and for everybody watching.
It's fun. I think
honestly, or
conversation's
listening.
underrated, especially in 2023. People don't talk enough. We're always texting.
We are.
It's just not as valuable. This is so valuable just to connect. Like even if there's like a third, fourth person here, the more people have a conversation, it's life changing. Like I've had conversations that impacted my life more than like a whole college course.
Absolutely. Oh my God. So much more than like anything you'd learn in school. The people you meet, the experiences they've come
Yes.
across, the knowledge they could give you is
Yes.
everything.
Yes, like there are if you have a conversation with someone that can bring, and everybody can bring value to your life, it literally could change the whole course of your life. Like if they'll tell you something you didn't know, and it'll completely, like it could be that missing piece of the puzzle for you.
And that's where the light goes on. You're like, wow, like that actually made sense. This could help
Yes.
me with something else in life that I'm dealing with.
100%.
And you've made a point. I know you're about to get into the
go
other
ahead.
stuff, but I feel like our life, like we're constantly on the go. We're constantly in a rush, and we don't really make the time to, like build a connection or feel like we want to talk to others. Like you said, everybody's always texting. Everyone's dealing with their own thing, whether at home, with school, with family, and a lot of people, I feel like, would wish to have somebody that they could talk to, they could relate to, they could learn from. And that's one thing that I feel like we are missing nowadays, is feeling like you're having a conversation with somebody that has depth, that's actually teaching you something, that wants to be raw with the things they talk about without feeling like, okay, like I should pull back, like I'm scared, I don't want to say too much,
Like censored. I don't know. Like, I
yes.
think it's such an American lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like, not even American. Like, it's like Western. It's a Western way of living. And I don't even Western by like ethnicity or whatever. I mean Western by like, after the Industrial Revolution, when they made women start working again, I feel like that changed the world. And then after that, when women stopped being like those caring, compassionate people, they're just like me and you. We got stuck into this like hustle culture.
Yes.
And then we were like, women were the ones organizing dinners. Women were the ones organizing parties. Like that was our role, to just sit home and make gatherings and like cook a bunch of food and like sit there and talk about dumb shit. And like honestly, I didn't realize the social impact of that up until the world has become such like a masculine, dry place.
Yes.
And I feel like we can even see that in like architecture. Like things have lost their depth.
Yes.
Even people, conversations, like things just all look like squares.
Yes.
Everything is poorly built, and I feel like the buildings we make are like really great representations of who we are as a society now. So a part of me wants to like just go move to Italy, because I feel like that's where the buildings are beautiful and the people are probably like sitting at coffee shops having deeper conversations.
Like they're actually making the time for those deeper conversations.
To be human.
Yeah, exactly. You said it, to be human. Like to feel like, hey, like, are you okay? Like, let's talk about it, Like
literally, let's just vibe.
Let's just vibe.
And,
Let's just
like,
explore
yeah.
like artistic stuff. Like,
Let's just be people.
Yeah. And
like, not rats.
no, exactly. Like that's the thing. When you have a creative mind, you're constantly looking for that. And like you said, like everything looks so just square, like very like black and white. Like what happened to the details of things? And that's one thing as an artist, you tend to miss a lot. And I feel like that's what leads you to a burnout. Like sometimes I feel like the repetitive stuff, the same exact things that we're doing on a daily basis, make you feel like, all right, like there's something missing. Like I want to find something that's gonna spark my creativity up again. And throughout the day at work, you'll get a few clients, you'll get a few looks, you'll feel that type of creative energy here and there, which is good.
Yeah,
But
it's so refreshing when it happens.
Oh my God,
like
it's
this feels
amazing.
refreshing.
Yeah, exactly. Like it just feels like, oh my God, like it feels good. Like I feel like myself again,
Yes.
And then whenever I feel like that disappear a little bit, I start looking at like, okay, like maybe I could go to a museum. Maybe I could do this. Maybe I could sit with myself. I
Yeah.
try my best to do that. I haven't had time to do that
Yeah.
lately. But
Because we forget.
We forget.
Like we forget it's an option.
Yes. Like,
The only thing that becomes relevant is the hustle culture.
Yeah.
Like how to grow, like how do I make myself feel validated? Because that like little part is missing. So
my
you're
God.
like, oh, maybe like I can build a bigger square and a bigger square. And then you end up in this like really huge square. And you're like, okay, well, it's still a square.
what do I do with this? Like this is too big. Like what am I doing here? Like I was good with the small square for a little time.
And because like you weren't craving you were craving the details. You're
Yes.
craving but for some reason, like our creative brain and the culture we're in, the industry we're in, is telling us to that the only way for happiness is like more of the same.
Yes.
And it's not. And sometimes it's so hard for me to like have that epiphany. And that's why I like my husband to be there, because he'll be like, dude, like this isn't what you want. Let's focus on what you do want, because you keep starting more projects and more projects and more projects, and like you think that's going to make you happy, and it does. It impacts the world. Like I'm helping students, you're helping clients. It does have impact. But at the same time, it's like we have to be careful with how much of the hustle culture we're falling trap into, because at the end of the day, like who wants to feel like a hamster on a hamster wheel?
Nobody does.
You know,
I feel like that's the equation for a burnout. That's the equation for losing interest in the things you love, because you get to a point where you're like, okay, like I'm trying to get there. Like you're trying to get there, which is great. It's great to want to achieve things. It's great to feel like you always want to do better. That's the number one thing to success, is to feel like, okay, I can always do better.
Yeah.
But then you get to a point where what we talked about earlier is you feel like you're comparing yourself. Like in the beginning when we first started, do you remember? Like it was so enjoyable to it was so simple. Like we were doing looks, we were in the beauty industry, like
we were doing looks on ourselves that were so creative.
Yes. And then like now that all of a sudden everything became like a hustle.
We got everything we wanted.
We did. Alhamdulillah, which is great. I'm grateful for that.
Yes.
But then again, you're like, okay, like you are on a hamster wheel, because you're now with social media and the way the beauty field is online, it just makes it feel like you're never there. Like you're constantly trying to catch up. You're constantly feeling behind, especially when you start comparing yourself and your work to others. You're like, okay, like, oh my God, like I could be better. I could do this. I could do that. And then you tend to lose yourself and lose your creativity along the way.
Yes.
Because you have to remember, like, you got to build the clientele you have. You got to have the people that love your work because it was your work.
Yeah.
You know? And I feel like when you start changing that and comparing yourself and feeling like you're not as good, people tend to feel that energy. And then they're like, okay, like what happened? Like where's the consistency?
Where is she?
Yeah, where is she? You start looking for her, and then people are looking for her, and there's just that loss of motivation somewhere there.
Yes, I've experienced that multiple times in my career.
Yeah, same.
I think you just like hit on a really point that like kind of, I don't know, really highlighted this whole thing for me, is like when you're doing all that, you find that there is no absolute destination. Like it's all imaginary.
Yes.
And it's funny because when we're scrolling, the destination gets further and further away, because you'll always find somebody on some fucking other shit. You're like, how the fuck did you get there, bro? Like,
I swear, I've actually asked that question before.
Yeah,
it's so true.
Like you look at somebody on the internet and you're like, okay, they have built this like inspiring and like,
which is amazing.
It's amazing. You're always like, holy crap, this is so cool. And it's funny because they're looking at somebody too.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
And then the person they're looking up to is also looking at somebody. And if it's not for inspiration, it's for comparison. And if it's not for comparison, you know, I feel like the healthiest way to be about it is to just allow yourself a little bit of time to scroll, because our brain cannot mentally handle or process so much inspiration or whatever you want to call it in one day. Like, we're not supposed to be like these creatures. Like, okay, when I was a kid, I thought God looks over everybody and God knows everybody's stories. That's what I, and I still believe that. But I'm not God. And I feel like Instagram kind of allows a window into everyone's life.
Yes. Oh my God. Wow. That
And
just gave me goosebumps, because like, what?
That's how I think about it sometimes. I'm like, and am I supposed to really be able to see these little glimpses of like their stories are like moments of their perspective? And it's like, am I really supposed to have that like insight of their view of the world? Because like, who am I to know those things? You know what I'm saying?
True. Yeah.
And it kind of feels like this really weird way of living where you're like, back in the day, people never really used to have the perspectives of all these eyes.
They didn't. And that's why I feel like they were able to
enjoy their own.
To enjoy their own and be present. And at the same time, if they had that creativity, to build on it.
Yes.
Like, to be like, okay, wow, like I feel like nobody has done that yet. Let me build on it. And then they did. And then they just kept getting better.
Yes.
Whereas now it's like, oh, somebody already did that. Somebody already did this, which is a bad mentality to have.
Yeah.
That's where you need to stop yourself and be like, okay, like I need to be inspired in this moment.
Yeah.
And I need to find the little detail of inspo that's going to make me feel like, okay, like inspired to do more.
Yes.
Without feeling like I'm not as good.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
No, it makes complete sense. I feel like those little moments, like, have you ever had an idea? And ideas to me come in like a spark of a second. Yeah. Like, you'll just be doing something like, I don't know. I always say washing dishes because I wash so much dishes. But I'll be washing dishes and like, I'll think of something and I'll be like, this is so great. Yeah. But if I don't write that thing down, I will forget it.
Yes, you have to write it down.
Yeah. Because
like you come back at nighttime and you're like, I really did think of something. Or you probably forgot about it because you're scrolling, you're doing all the other things that you have to do.
Yeah.
You're like, man, I had a great idea.
Scrolling kills my like brain activity sometimes.
Same. And it's like, it's so hard getting yourself to stop. Like, honestly.
Yes. Like being like, okay, enough. I scrolled enough today. Yes. I got to get up and shower.
Yeah. Especially on your days off where you're like, I just want to go home and sit and lay in bed and do nothing. But you're like on TikTok or Instagram for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, where did the time go? Where did my day go?
Yeah, it like, you know, it's so weird. I feel like TikTok is called TikTok, like the clock. Yes. And it's like robbing us of our time. It's like so ominous. I'm like,
oh my God.
I'm like, I hate that.
You're
and like
making such great points today. Like she's always been that way. But
I'm always, yeah.
She like opens my eyes on a lot of things, which I love.
Or like,
this is what
you know, Instagram.
I'm here for that.
It's called like Instagram, like instant.
Yeah.
It's stealing our instances.
Yes.
It's like a nightmare episode of Sailor Moon.
Oh my God, that's so true.
It's just so weird.
It is. Like now that I'm thinking about it, because that's where we always want everything in an instant. And with TikTok, you're right. Like our time's constantly ticking. And it's ticking for the next viral thing, for the next viral video, yes. for the next famous person on there. And it's also taking our time away.
Yes, it like robs us of the only real thing that we fucking have, which is our time here.
And we can't get back.
No, you can't. That's the thing. Like if you pay somebody something, you can always make your money again or whatever. Mm-hmm. But you'll never get the time back, which is like, I'm like, like these companies are literal villains sometimes, but at the same time, we're on them 24/7 because we have businesses and we need to be. So then sometimes I'm like so thankful for those companies, and like without them, I wouldn't have a business. You'd have like a different business.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to have connected with all the clients that I connected with along the way too.
So they're like really amazing, but then you're like, oh my God, like I need to stop scrolling. But yeah, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and this woman, she was saying that there's two types of procrastination. There's productive procrastination and there's destructive procrastination. And you procrastinate because you are tired. So I noticed that when I'm like close to burnout or when I am tired, that is when I will like start doing things like, for example, like I need to, let's say, start working on a new course or something, and then I'll start cleaning my car instead. So like that's still, but that's still procrastination. I never knew that. So having productive procrastination is like a little bit better because hey, at least your car is clean, or your nails are done, or your hair is done, or whatever. Your bedroom is decorated differently. Whatever you ended up doing instead of doing the project, at least it's there. But then there's destructive procrastination, which is like scrolling or like depressive behavior sort of, which I fall in trap like of both, and it's completely normal for all of us to do those things.
Oh, it's very normal.
It's so normal. But now like I think the most valuable thing I got out of that podcast is like ask yourself when you are doing that, like what is making me tired? Yeah. So I think now when I find myself scrolling and it's so hard to get off, I'll just be like, what made me this tired? And I'll review my day up until that point. And then a lot of times I find it like, for me, I found that the most things that drain me as a person is difficult conversations. If I have a difficult conversation, I'm fucked for the day.
You're exhausted.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could relate to that.
Yeah,
honestly.
like I don't mind working my ass off. I'm happy working on projects. Like it's not my actual physical work that drains me. And sometimes I'm like, I'm burnt out. It must be my job.
Yeah.
And it never is my job. It's always like
Is it a difficult like conversation that you had or you're thinking of
both.
trying to have?
Like both.
Yeah, I could understand the
Like both.
other one. the
That
second.
drains my mental power.
Yeah.
Like it makes me feel like I'm tired.
Because you're constantly thinking about it. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, like how can I have it? Or like what was said? What could I take back? What could I have said better?
Yes.
Yeah, because you're constantly thinking, and I think that's more exhausting than physical activity.
Yes.
Because the mind just never stops, and your mind could literally be your enemy, and it could be your best friend.
Yeah.
And during those conversations, or after those difficult conversations, or if you're planning on having one, you're just constantly fighting. Like it's like a battle going on inside your
Yes.
mind.
Yes.
Yeah, so I could see that actually makes a lot of sense.
And I think too, when I'm scrolling, like I'm already in that mental space of like I'm about to get burnt out. I'm just looking to relax, so I am scrolling. Then you start to then you're scrolling, and like let's say you stumble upon somebody that's so inspirational, and then your perception of your destination gets a little bit further because you might start comparing. And then so you're playing all these mind tricks on yourself, and then you're really fucked. And I feel like okay, look, I know everybody here is relating to that.
Yes.
I don't care who you are, like that is a mental space that us in the beauty industry, because we work so hard and then we are scrolling often, it's not good. Like we all need to free ourselves from that 100%.
We do, absolutely. I have to agree with you on that. And I feel like saying it is a lot easier, like we said earlier, because our job, our businesses run on social media. They depend on social media, constantly posting, constantly being engaged with your followers and your clientele. And if you stop, you're like, okay, like, oh, wait, am I falling off? Like, what am I doing?
Yes.
What do
Am
I do
falling
now?
off? That's like a really good point. Am I falling off?
Am I falling off? Like, should I be like filming things differently? Should I be posting things differently? And it's just become so saturated that you're like, okay, like, what do I do at this point? You feel like you're fighting for a spot, but at the same time, that's where you should.
And it's all imaginary.
It is, because it's in your head.
Literally in your head.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. And I love that I can relate to all these things with you.
Yeah, me too.
Because it's so rare that like you hang out with somebody in a similar position and then you can have a conversation and you're like, okay, I know this person gets it.
Yeah.
And it feels so good to like just talk to somebody that's like in a similar position and you're like, I know they get it.
Yeah. That's how I feel with you. And the funny thing is, we haven't caught up and we haven't talked about anything.
Yeah.
In how long? Like how many
10 years.
10 years.
It's been
almost.
10 years. And I
Yeah.
feel like I'm talking to like a friend.
I swear. that
I think
feels
it's
so
because
good.
like we kind of have a window at each other too. I
Yeah.
kind of like you stalk me, I stalk you. Like we know.
Oh yeah. But that's what I love. You inspire me too.
Thank
You know,
you.
with how organized you are and how dedicated you are to what you do.
inspire me by like keeping. You seem to have more of a balance.
You
I feel
think so?
I think. I mean, in
I'm
my
glad. I'm glad.
in my
people see.
in my little window, from what I see, I just see that you do a lot of self care.
I try my best because for me, I grew up with seeing my mom and my aunts take, like put self-care first.
Yeah.
Whether it was with the way they looked, and it made them feel better.
Yeah.
I know as superficial as that sounds, but I feel like
No, it's not superficial.
Yeah, it just makes everybody feel better. When you
Yeah.
look good, you do things for yourself, you always feel better.
Yeah.
And I just continued with that, like
Yeah.
in my life. And as I got older, now it did get more difficult the older I got.
Oh God, don't even talk about age.
Seriously. And I feel we're still young, okay?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
But it's just I feel like I had more motivation when it came to the gym, like before COVID. I was like, all right, like I want to be a beast. I want to be a trainer. Like I want to do
I mean,
all
you
these
still
things.
look really good.
Thank you. I try my best, but I feel
Yeah.
like now, okay, like it doesn't affect work-wise, but in the gym, I feel like certain days, if I'm having a bad day or I'm just not doing great, or like I just got in a fight with someone at home, or like in my relationship, I'm like, like, do I really want to go to the gym right now? Like, it used to be my therapy.
Oh, so it's like a mental shift.
Yeah, there's been like a mental shift of like, I don't.
Maybe
feel
you
like
got to
going.
change like memberships.
Yeah, maybe.
Where
think
do
so,
you
too. I
go?
think it's a gym. I'm at Powerhouse Dearborn. It's pretty
Okay,
cool.
I've never been.
It's a nice gym.
Do they have a sauna?
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
Yeah, they have a sauna. It's close by. It's
The
by my
sauna's
work.
like my motivation.
Yeah, but
like whenever I don't want to go to the gym, I'm like, but think about sitting in the sauna.
Yeah, that's the reward. So like you work
Yeah.
out and sitting in the sauna is like the little reward after your
Yes.
workout. But yeah, I feel like it's gotten a little bit difficult for me to continue on with the gym or like go to my training sessions. I know Nala might watch this. She might want to kill me, but there were a lot of times where I was going through some things in life and I would be like, all right, I'm canceling my
Like
session
fitness.
today.
Yeah.
I don't want to go.
Is that how you train? You have a personal trainer, or do you just go, or do you do both?
I try to do both.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like you need a trainer no matter how much you know what you're doing. I feel like the
Yeah.
trainer keeps you accountable for the things that you need to be doing in the gym, and they motivate you.
Yeah, and especially with the girl you go to, like Nala. I've never met her, but she's built perfectly. So I'm like, she knows what she's doing.
She's a beast. Like,
Yeah.
She's constantly.
Huh?
We do classes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think like I've only had a trainer once, and she was amazing. But I felt like it was a commitment. That's what stirred me away. Where like I was buying the classes,
Yeah.
I was buying like 12 at a time, and then they felt like cards that you can use. Like I felt like, okay, I have 12 spots. I gotta use these wisely,
Yes.
and they were expensive. So like
It is. It is very.
it was very expensive, and it was worth it.
It's
but
always worth it.
then we started doing so our membership comes with like classes. You just choose a class, you show up together, and I think what motivates us is going together. Lifetime.
Oh, Lifetime. Okay.
Yeah, so they have like classes on the app.
Yeah.
And then it's always different, and if I don't show up, like I don't have somebody being like, where are you? Like, even though I would like that, and sometimes it's that person, she's that person for me.
I like that. You keep her motivated.
Yeah. And I think like we've both been decent.
Yeah.
But I think, as you said, it's like a mental thing, and it's like I know that me and you probably had like 1 year where we felt like the gym was top priority, and like you look back at that year and you're like, okay, like I want to go back to that zone. And for some reason, me and my friend were saying like, either I'm working out, praying, journaling, sleeping early, doing my skincare, working hard, or I'm fucking doing none of it.
Yes.
For me, it's all or nothing.
That's how I am. I'm the same exact way. It's either I'm on top of everything and I feel good and I'm like
Yes.
going home at night, putting on my little masks and like lighting up my candle and I feel great, or I'm not doing any of that.
Yeah.
And then what happened to my skin? What happened to like the gym part? What's going on with all
And
that?
then you start
Everything's
picking
falling
back
apart.
up the pieces.
Yes.
And then you pick back up the pieces, you get back on that routine, then the pieces start falling off one day at a time.
It's
And
like
then
a
you
domino effect.
Yes, and then you do it again, but it's nice to have accountability of like what the perfect day schedule looks like, at least. Like if you've done it for a month, you can always reflect on that month, and like that was your golden month in your mind, and you can always try to go back there.
Yeah, because you know you actually did it before.
Yes.
That way you could do it again.
Yes.
Like you're very what's the word? I always don't know my words. That like they're always the tip of my tongue. But like you've lived that moment before.
Yes.
And you're capable of doing it again. You're like, okay, I can do this again. Like I know I have that in me.
Yeah.
I gotta find it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That feels like the best thing to know. But it's just sometimes it's a little bit hard picking up the pieces. But if I just pick up one piece at a time, sometimes like it starts to fall back in place.
It does.
And it's never like nobody lives a life where every day they're perfect. No one does.
Actually, I would not want to live that life, to be honest with you. I know we all look for perfection.
Yes, especially as a Virgo.
Yes, as a Virgo and as artists too. Like you just feel like you're always like, okay, I want things to be perfect. I want this to be just perfect.
Yeah.
But I feel like when life is like that, it's boring because it's the moments of insecurities and the moments where we feel like we're about to lose it all that make us appreciate the moments where we had it really good and that keep us like looking forward to something. Does that make sense?
No, it makes 100% sense. Of course it makes sense. Yeah. Like, and I think that's why me and you with Sagittarius. Because we're like, we need that break of pattern.
Yes.
Because we're always heading towards a pattern. And I think it could be healthy, of course, to like build a career. But then again, like, it's not like it's a robotic life.
It is. It's a very robotic life.
Yeah.
And chasing perfection perfectionism all the time just is exhausting.
Yeah.
Like I've gotten to the point where I'm starting to convince myself of like, okay, like stop chasing that.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
Especially now that, like, I want my 30s to be different than my 20s.
Yes.
Because, like, my 20s, I feel like I was a hustler. I did the thing. I got to where I was. And it's so hard to stop building on it. Like, I want to keep building on it. I have so many creative ideas. Of course, I'm going to keep growing. Like, it is my passion. But I do want to, like, be a yoga mom sometimes and just sit home and, like, not work and like enjoy that freedom of just being a woman. And I do want that sometimes. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
I feel like you deserve that. Like, I feel like you should pursue that because there's a lot of things that what's the word? I feel like there are a lot of things that we want. Like, all my 20s were of me working.
Yes.
You know,
and like you worked at Cool Blue. I worked, and it was a small room. Like we spent all of our weekends there.
Yes. And when people like tell me, "Oh, what did you do?" and I'm like, "I didn't really do anything." Like the 2 times in my career that I took a vacation were when I was younger, and like I was overseas. My mom would always go every other year to Jordan, and she would extend her stay because I was the only one that would be with her everywhere there. And then I'm like, okay, like as I got older, I'm like, no, like I need to be responsible. I need to be there for my clients. And I was putting all of that before, like I was prioritizing that instead of my own life.
Yeah.
And now looking back at it, I'm like, okay, but like all of my 20s were spent of me working constantly. My weekends were gone.
Like we don't regret it.
We don't regret it. Absolutely not. But I wish that we would have just been a little bit more organized with our time and did put a stop to like certain times or did take a break.
Or like not take on everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I do not regret absolutely anything.
Because it got us to where we are now.
It did. No, alhamdulillah.
But like, I want my 30s to be like, okay, this wherever I am
like
is
a balance,
is
basically.
cool. Yeah. I am not gonna say yes to all my clients. I took all of November off. She's the only girl I'm taking this whole November because I'm like, I have classes to write. I'm not gonna spread myself thin. I used to spread myself so thin because I felt like I had to, and I don't regret it because I did have to. Like I physically, you know, I grew up with nothing. Like I came from immigrant family. They came here 2003. My dad, just like any other immigrant, came with no money.
Same.
You know, we literally had nothing like growing up, and I wanted stuff. I wanted everything.
And
so
they did their best to provide to us the life that we wanted.
And I saw them working so hard.
Yes.
And I saw them grow. So I'm like, okay, this is the way. Because they showed me that this is the way.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, okay, so I'll do that. But now that I'm an adult and I feel like, okay, there are times where you just need to be okay with where you are. And as you said earlier, like just be present. Be present and be happy and be content and like all those things that are so much easier said than done. But I want my 30s to be more of that. Like I want to look back when I'm 40 at my 30s and just be like,
wow, I enjoyed those years.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want that. Like I don't care if I grow down in my career, but grow up in maybe in my family life or grow up in my like emotional or physical life or maybe build some biceps or something, you know.
Girl, you got them. I see them.
A little bit.
I see them.
You know, but like grow in different ways.
Yeah.
I don't want to just monetarily grow or whatever. Because like at the same time, like we're there for our clients, but
who's there for us?
we need to be there for us.
Yeah.
Like we do.
Yeah. I feel like if we're not there for us, we're not able to be there for our clients.
Yeah.
Or anybody in our life.
Literally. And I know that to them, it's like they're just seeing us on their wedding or, you know, we're just doing their brows. Or I know like my clients don't see me on a special day, but I remember that when I did have clients that used to see me on a special day, like it was to them, they're seeing me one day, but to us, we were doing that every single day. So it was our life.
Yes.
So it's a very different compromise. So I just feel like, I don't know, I kind of want to go back to that girl who thought she was entering Barbie land and tell her that, like, okay, it's time to play Barbie. Like, I do want to play Barbie someday in my life.
And you deserve to.
Yeah.
After all this hard work, after all of the things that you've accomplished and that you will continue accomplishing, you should give yourself that time.
I know. I'm going to try to. Like, I want my 30s to be a little bit more... I just want to be less of like, I don't want to say that it's a manly thing to be a hustler because it's not. I feel like girls hustle harder, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
We really fucking pull.
I feel like it's a personal thing for us. Like we're just like in our hustling phase constantly, whether it has to do with our careers, our the way we look,
Everything.
yeah, everything about us, like,
Yes.
which is good.
It's good.
But we gotta like tap into that feminine,
Yeah.
energy that we have, and the feminine energy that got us into what we do right now.
Exactly, because it wasn't this energy that got me. If I had this personality now, I would have entered like banking.
I swear.
Because I'd be like, okay, where the money at though?
Yeah, that's so true. But it's like you're like, I'm here, but like I have this personality right now where I'm just, like I don't know how to describe it. I don't know how to. I never get that word, but it just, you feel like you're more protective of yourself and your energy, right? Do you ever feel that way?
Dude, absolutely. Oh, yeah. That's the reason I'm not taking clients this November.
Yeah, like
Fuck it. Like, I'm done.
Yeah, like you just feel like you deserve that whole like yoga mom life.
Yes.
And like doing this on the side. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
If a
I
yoga
feel you.
mom is listening to this and she's looking up at like boss bitches, on Instagram, I just
wanna
want you to
be
know
you.
the grass is greener on your side and you're probably thinking the grass is greener on our side, but just be present, as Areej said, the grass is not greener anywhere. Like,
No.
you just got to take it day by day. Like, I swear. And
It's a human thing.
yeah, sometimes all we want is the complete opposite of what we have. And it's like,
But then, I don't mean to cut you off,
No,
but
do
say
it.
that you do end up getting what you always wanted. You're going to miss this life. You're going to miss the things
Yes.
about this life.
yes.
Like, I can't see myself sitting in a house and then, like,
I can't
not
either.
doing anything.
Oh, I
right?
can't either.
But then you also
I just
want...
fantasize about it.
You fantasize about it because you're like, that's an option. But it's like, okay, you could potentially do that, which is
Yeah.
good. But I feel like the best thing to do is to find that balance of like, okay, like I can do that on some days,
Yes.
but let me do the things I love on some other days, but not
Yes.
have them burn me out so much to the point where I don't feel like doing the things that I actually fantasize about.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And I think that comes down to scheduling.
Yes.
Just scheduling things in.
Oh my God.
Do you do that? Do you have a calendar?
I do have a calendar for work, but not for my personal
Really?
life. Yeah, I wish I did get into
do it.
that.
Do it.
Yeah, every
Well,
time
2024 is coming up.
it is.
So, like, I don't know, get a calendar and, like, pencil in your gym days and, like, your hubby days and your dinner dates. Because if you don't, they won't happen.
So my hubby days are always there.
Okay,
I feel
good.
like I give
You do
him,
'em.
I give him that time because I enjoy my time with him.
Yeah. It comes natural.
It comes natural.
You don't have to pencil it in.
No, I try my best not to pencil it in.
Yes.
But because of my schedule, so like on weekdays, I'm doing the skincare stuff. I'm doing the aesthetics
Oh,
world.
right.
And I try to do that like 2 days out of the week.
Yeah.
And then Thursdays through Sundays, I'm at the studio doing makeup all day. And by the end of Sunday, I'm just like dead. Like I'm gone. And I think he
Yeah.
appreciates that because he's watching football those days. So he's like,
Oh.
all right, like she's too tired to talk like at the
Yeah.
end of the day. But then Monday comes and I'm like, okay, like I'm supposed to be training, but my body's burnt out. I don't feel like doing any of the things that I enjoy.
Yeah.
And then that's where I'm like, okay, I could have scheduled my days a little bit better, not burnt myself out on the weekend.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like that's the part where I don't do that well with.
I mean, hey, 2024 can be different.
Yeah, of
Our
course.
30s are going to be different.
Oh my God, they're gonna be different. How old are you?
I just turned 30.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Welcome to the 30s.
I know, girl.
Welcome to that side.
I am here. I have arrived.
You have arrived.
Yes, I parked my plane.
She's arrived in the 30s. Now you're gonna love. I mean, so far 30s have been good.
Yeah.
Like you get to learn so much more about yourself, and I feel like you're able to draw more boundaries.
Oh, yeah. I
know?
mean, I can see that in my future for sure. I've been drawing those boundaries, but, just changing things up here and there.
Good.
Yes, girl. Well, this
like
was
that.
amazing.
This was amazing. I feel like we need a part 2.
We do. I mean,
we didn't talk about everything.
No, hell no. I mean, now that I know you're a Gemini and I'm a Virgo and we can talk forever,
Yes.
girl, you already know.
We still have not broken any ice, you guys. Like we got a lot more to talk about. I feel like there's so much more to just like catch up on, and there's so much more to give advice to for people who are trying to get into this career
Yeah.
too. So
No,
I'd love to-
absolutely.
yeah, I'd love to touch base on that.
Dude, hell yeah. Even if like, you know what I think would be fun? Like, I don't know. I don't have a lot of friends in Dearborn, to be honest, that are in the industry, but I feel like you're a little bit more connected. Like, I don't mind doing like a group of 3 or potentially like, more people on the podcast. That'd be so fun.
Oh, that would be great, actually.
Yeah.
I have a few people that
like would bring a good dynamic to the
Yes.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be great.
I think so too. It's always fun doing something different, and
Absolutely.
it was so good to connect with you after 10 years.
Thank you. You
It was
too.
amazing.
Honestly, it's as amazing as I thought it would be.
Good.
This reminds me of the time when we did the Wolverine movie. Remember?
Yeah, and we went out to dinner after, and we just had a good time.
Yeah, that was good. We had good times, and I knew that coming on this podcast and talking to you and catching up was gonna be great.
I know, it was refreshing for me. It was so real.
It was.
I liked it.
Thank you. I liked it. I loved it, actually.
All right. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, and leave us a review if you enjoyed this. Leave us any questions if you have. Make sure to follow us both on Instagram. Her Instagram name is, I think it's Areej Daghlas, right?
That's my name.
It's just her name, Areej Daghlas. And then we'll also like type it in the video. So if you're listening on Spotify, just look at your phone. That's her name. And then this is a beauty institute with the ink post. My personal is Shay Said. So make sure to follow that as well. And we always love hearing from you. So if you listen this far and you have something to say to any of us, just DM us. I love talking to you guys just as much as I love talking to, our guests and everything. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And yeah, I'll see you next time.